All right. Hello there.
Hello, sweet Julie.
It's so good to see your face. It's been
Oh
way,
my gosh. It's so good to be together.
it is. It's good to be together. I was thinking about our last poetry and sound session, and it was April. April,
No.
yeah, April 21st.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been way too long. Life has just kind of swept us up in good things and busyness, and I know I have missed our time doing this, and I'm just really glad that I felt inspired to share a few poems that are sort of new to me, um, that I want to share with you. And I thought, let's do it. Let's get online and do it. So, yeah.
I just, so much joy when I got your text that said, I've got poems for us. Yes,
Good.
I'm there. So it's good to be back together.
Yeah. And I know you have participated in a couple of really filling poetry sessions with one was David White, right? Recently?
Yes, I just did 3 Sundays with David White. And he debuted some of his new poetry that came through him during the shutdown. So it was very joyful to be back together, just taking in his wisdom and knowing that, there were people from all over the world that were joining. But this conversation, starting this conversation, the one we don't want to have with ourselves, it was good to be back in conversation. So I was just so happy to move back into poetry and sound.
Nice. Nice. Is there anybody else you have recently done some poetry with or work with? The lads? Anything with them?
You know, I thought about doing a session with the lads, but I didn't get to it.
Okay.
So I'm going to start a new year. They kind of do the wheel of the year, and each quarter, I think, oh, I'm going to do this quarter with the lads, and here we are at the end of the year. So maybe next year.
Well, I wanted to let you know that Mark Nepo is going to be doing
Hmm.
a program December 9th, and it is free. And it's the program is called Drinking from the River of Light.
Oh,
I will put the information in our notes for anybody who might want to check that out. You do have to register for it, so that's kind of all the detail I have on that. But I was excited to
okay.
see that he was making that available, that 2 hour program at no charge,
Oh,
virtual.
thanks for sharing.
Yeah. And then I'm
What?
also participating in an Advent series through uh, a place called Corrymeela, which is in Belfast, Ireland. And it's hosted by one of our favorite poets, Padraig OTuama. It was the first one was last Sunday, and then it's three more Sundays leading up to Christmas. And so it's just, there's just something about the depth of the conversations and pulling in religious texts and just that just
Hmm.
rich discussion about the season of light and Advent. So yeah, that's just been a fun thing to look forward to, and it has delivered on what I'd hoped it would be. So really nourishing. So those are a couple
Maybe
of
you
things
can
I
add that. Maybe you can add that link as well.
will. I'll add that. I don't think it's too late to sign up for it. So, but yeah. So yeah, back to Mary Oliver. We did a tribute for Earth Day, and
Hmm.
so here we are now. We're moving closer to the season of winter solstice. My personal favorite time of year, and I think it's one of those times for you as well. And it is about the return of the light, and think about the ancestors of which we stand on their shoulders, and what those early peoples must have thought when the seasons changed, and it was darker times, and everything hinged on will the plantings come back in the spring, will the animals, will there be enough food, will this return to a sense of abundance, what do we do if it doesn't, like all of that sort of uncertainty. And yet what had to sort of come was faith, total trust and faith in the cycles. And now we're coming out of a challenging time, or I want to say coming out, but I think about this long siege that we have been going through as a global pandemic is sweeping through places and returning again. And what's called for now is trusting light, trusting ourselves, turning inward, doing what you can do to be responsible, of course, and contributing the ways that matter. But at the end of the day, there's not much we have control over except how we choose to step into the day, how we choose to frame our day. And so that has led me to a lot of readings that are focused on light and on the heart and compassion. And so I thought it would be really fun to share three poems. It was really hard to narrow down, but I found three that felt like, these feel like poems I return to. And so I want to share those with you. I will go ahead and start with Self-Compassion, which is a beautiful poem by James Cruz. And he has a fairly new book out that is called The Path to Kindness, Poems of Connection and Joy. And it's on my Christmas list. I want that book. And so I'm going to read the poem, and then I'll tell you what his thoughts were as this poem as he caught this poem, as it sort of came to him.
Oh, I love this idea that this poem caught him.
Yeah. And so let's go ahead and just sort of, have you play your bowl and kind of get ourselves into a nice place of receiving. Self-compassion. My friend and I snickered the first time we heard the meditation teacher, a grown man, call himself Honey, with a hand placed over his heart to illustrate how we too might become more gentle with ourselves and our runaway minds. It's been years since we sat with legs twisted on cushions, holding back our laughter. But today, I found myself crouched on the floor again, not meditating exactly, just agreeing to be still, saying honey to myself each time I thought about my husband, splayed on the couch with aching joints and fever from a tick bite. What if he never gets better? Or considered the threat of more wildfires, the possible collapse of the Gulf Stream, then remembered that in a few more minutes, I'd have to climb down the cellar and empty the bucket I placed beneath the leaky pipe. That can't be fixed until next Thursday. How long do any of us really have before the body begins to break down and empty its mysteries into the air? Oh, honey, I said, for once without a trace of irony or blush or shame. The touch of my hand on my chest, like that of a stranger, oddly comforting in spite of the facts.
It's just the simple act of referring to yourself as honey. Mm.
Yeah. It made me think when I do that, I refer to myself as dear one. Oh, dear one. You need so much right now, or you got that so wrong.
Mm.
Yeah, it's like as soon as I go to that, it's sort of I get that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there is something almost primal when we connect our hand to our heart.
Mm-hmm.
It must be that instant signal to our nervous system of like, calm, calm, get calm, get calm. Emotion.
There is an instant soothing. You know, your heart slows, your breathing slows, and this feeling of connection.
Yeah. So James Cruz is one of those beautiful poets that just he has just the gift of words and how he strings them together to write beautiful, beautiful poetry. Um, and I loved that what he said about this poem, that he wrote self-compassion the summer after the pandemic first began. And he goes on to say, I felt so worried for the state of our country and planet when everything in our individual lives also seemed to be falling apart. The leaky pipe, my husband's health. I'm a recovering cynic, so self-care practices can still seem silly to me. But in this case, I had no choice but to be kind to myself. The wise words of Wendell Berry echoing in my mind, be joyful though you have considered all the facts.
Mm.
I love that. It's the perfect thing to say for somebody who is sort of like a recovering cynic. Be joyful, though you have considered all the facts. Yeah.
What a lovely quote.
It just made me laugh when I read that. So, yeah, beautiful poem. Just love his work, and that also led me to a friend of mine sent me a email this week, and at the bottom of her email, she included this poem from Emily Dickinson, which I had never heard, but it was so beautiful. I actually wrote it out so that I would have it for us when we did it. And so this is a real short poem from Emily Dickinson, written in 1861.
All right.
Relevant today as it was then. The world is such a little place. Red in the sky before the sun rises. So let us keep fast hold of hands, that when the birds begin, none of us be missing.
Oh,
Yeah.
can you read that again?
The world is such a little place, just the red in the sky before the sun rises. So let us keep fast hold of hands, that when the birds begin, none of us be missing. It just feels like, we're just this little speck spinning around, and let's just leave no one behind,
Right.
reach out to the person next to you and pull them on as soon as we hear the birds singing, we know all is well. Everything is, right in the world, in the kingdom, so to speak. Yeah, I just thought that was
And we're all in this together.
all in this together. It just felt like a part of this compassion thread that sort of
Mm-hmm.
kind of emerging, and feeling very comforted by things related to compassion and stories about love and compassion these days. And I think it's because we're looking for the light, we're seeking the light in a time that feels heavy and dense. I know I am seeking the light in this time that feels heavy and dense.
Well, we've been in a very long solstice season. You
Yeah.
know, almost 2 years worth of a solstice season. So, yes, turning towards the light.
And let's see, the next one I want to read for you is this is by this is a new poet to me, and her name is Jan Richardson. And let's see, what do I know about her? I don't really have that much information about her. I found this on poetry.org, and
Mm-hmm.
actually kind of looking through that site because I was trying to find a event that I had just missed the registration for. And actually, as I was perusing, I read this poem, and it just really sort of like was one of those like, oh, I need to share this with Susan.
Oh, and I love this reminder that even when we don't find what we think we're looking for, we find exactly what we need.
And that is so true because her poem is titled How the Light Comes.
Oh.
I eventually did find that event on YouTube, but I got a twofer. So I got this poem out of the search, as well as eventually got to see the event that I wanted to see. And so Dan Richardson's poem, How the Light Comes. Would you like to sort of give us a little?
Let's ease into this. I feel some deep breaths in between these poems and finding the space for the light.
How the light comes. I cannot tell you how the light comes. What I know is that it is more ancient than imagining, that it travels across an astounding expanse to reach us, that it loves searching out what is hidden, what is lost, what is forgotten, or in peril, or in pain, that it has a fondness for the body, for finding its way toward flesh, for tracing the edges of form, for shining forth through the eye, the hand, the heart. I cannot tell you how the light comes, but that it does, that it will, that it works its way into the deepest dark that enfolds you, though it may seem long ages in coming, or arrive in a shape you did not foresee. And so may we this day turn ourselves toward it. May we lift our faces to let it find us. May we bend our bodies to follow the arc it makes.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah, I love how this poem, I think this poem spoke to me because, you don't know what form the light is going to take. And often it takes a form that you haven't necessarily expected, or maybe you haven't seen before, or it's so comforting in that it is continuous. It's sort of, that's it, that whole saying, like when you've had a really tough time. I think I had this experience. I had a really great connection with my paternal grandmother, and she had a way of saying things like, everything will look better in the light of day.
Mm.
Oh, it's fresh. And there's this book, Anne of Avonlea, and one of the lines is, "Today is fresh with no mistakes in it." Sort of, that was like I remember first time I read that as a young girl, that I just sort of like, I sort of like, glommed onto that as like a pearl of wisdom from this author who wrote that book. Today is fresh with no mistakes in it. And that's one of those messages of light that touched me as a child, and here I am, much older, like, it still remembers that and finds comfort in that. Yeah.
I have to tell you, hand on heart, and calling myself honey feels, the warmth of the light shining. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. That was beautiful.
Yeah, I'm glad you liked that one. That one really touched me. I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad you resonate as well.
Hmm. These unexpected places that the light shines and the light um, comes through and comes in and just hits us on the face.
Sort of like, lately I've kind of started my gratitude practice again. I'm good for a while, and then I get busy and I stop, doing that kind of my regular practice. And I started doing that again about, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 months ago. And what I start to play with is that idea of how many different ways am I surprised in my day. That's kind of,
Mm.
that's kind of my new reframe. Sometimes sitting with, okay, what am I grateful for today, feels a little, I don't know, it doesn't inspire me as much as what were some surprising things today that brought me some some peace, some joy, maybe laugh, whatever. And that's a fun, that's more of a game of following
Right.
that thread. So this
Yeah.
this poem sort of felt like that was one of the gratitudes that, when I found this a couple weeks ago, one of the things I wrote about was that whole thing. I went on the hunt for this, but I got this. You know, is anything ever wasted? You know,
Mhm.
so it was fun.
And I really appreciate that. I feel like I've been trying to get back to that the last, from the summer into the early fall. I was getting ready to launch this program, And I felt like, although I was creating, I was working, and I didn't have the time to get lost in things, to just get lost in a recording of sound, or to get lost in a podcast, or this losing yourself when you have all the time, instead of, okay, I've got 3 minutes in between this thing. And the last couple of months, I've been trying to make a point of sitting and giving myself the time to get lost, whether it's a book or listening to something. But that just being lost and seeing what arises, what is discovered in that.
Right. Well, hopefully this is giving you a little of that right now.
I have missed this time. What I have missed, in addition to, spending time with you, is the space that is created in sharing our poetry finds with each other and with community.
I agree.
It's kind of a way to bend time, is poetry and being in community and sharing these words. Feels like it's expansive for me, and so I end up, there's still 24 hours in the day, but I feel like I have time to be.
Yeah. It's like we've activated another part of our body, our brain, our spirit that's just like kind of just ready to receive. Just wait.
Ready to receive.
If you're ready, I'm ready to receive. All right. So the last poem I have for you today is from one of my favorites, Joy Haro. And
I'm with you, sister.
I just, she is the poet laureate for the United States. And a lot of people don't know that. And I think in 2019, she was appointed and then reappointed, which is a very unusual scenario. But she holds, she is revered. She is an amazing talent of a woman. And she is a member of the Muskogee Creek Nation, from out of Oklahoma. She has written several books of poetry, and she also is a jazz musician and singer. Yes.
I didn't know that.
And I have listened to some of her stuff. She is so talented. She is multi-talented. Yeah, she's amazing. And so this book, this poem that I'm going to share with you is called On This Morning, I Pray for My Enemies.
Oh.
And this is a short one, but boy, it packs it's potent. So, on this morning, I pray for my enemies. And who do I call my enemy? An enemy must be worthy of engagement. I turn in the direction of the sun and keep walking. It's the heart that asks the question, not my furious mind. The heart is the smaller cousin of the sun. It sees and knows everything. It hears the gnashing even as it hears the blessing. The door to the mind should only open from the heart. An enemy who gets in risks the danger of becoming a friend.
The heart is the smaller cousin of the sun.
Yeah. Isn't that beautiful?
And all, what was it, conversations or decisions should begin with the heart and not the mind. What was the line?
The heart that asks the question, not my furious mind.
Yes.
Heart is the smaller cousin of the sun.
Mm. Mm.
It's personal and it's universal.
It's universal.
We we get that. That's her mastery. Is very personal, is universal. And we think we're so, unique. And we think no one else suffers the way we do. We think no one could relate. We think, we get so lost in that. But this drills down into this like small little poem with very few words that is universal.
Mm-hmm.
Whom do I call my enemy? We all know that feeling. An enemy must be worthy of engagement.
Right.
Something has struck the chord. I turn in the direction of the sun and keep walking. It is the heart that asks the question, not my furious mind. The heart is the smaller cousin of the sun. It sees and knows everything. It hears the gnashing even as it hears the blessing.
Mm.
My mind should only open from the heart, and
Yes.
then risk the danger of becoming a friend. Yeah. What is that ancient line that the longest distance is between the head and the heart is your truer guidepost, the truer.
Poor guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I love
The
that.
door
The mind should only open from the heart.
from the heart. All these poems, Julie, brings us back to the question of, the primitive thing that we respond to with the hand on the heart. And it feels like hand on the heart, this warmth of the sun when we put hand to heart. This is what I've been experiencing as you've been reading, is this warmth of this connection.
Yeah.
The door of the mind opens from the heart.
From the heart. Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
amazing. She's amazing.
She's amazing. Yeah.
She's amazing. Mm-hmm. Yes. We read her autobiography, you and I,
Crazy
during this during this longest solstice season.
right. Yeah, I'm reading a really good book right now. Actually, I'm reading it for the second time, called Breath. And and one of the things that I'm finding fascinating is the concept that because we do not breathe properly, you know, we are missing opportunities of really good health.
Mm-hmm.
That our breath is, the ancients understood the importance of carbon dioxide. They understood that to mouth breathe is the fastest route to disease and illness and early death and a lot of things. And so cradle boards for babies, Native American babies that were put in cradle boards, it was to keep them up, to force them to breathe properly. And if an infant was noticed to have their mouth open breathing, an adult would go by and close their mouth in a way to teach them to breathe through their nose. And then so many cultures have interesting stories like that. But I'm fascinated by doing some of these breath practices, which really is what we've learned as meditation instructors, the importance of following the breath as a way of relaxing and going in, and breath as a guide for meditation and to have a focus, something to focus on. But by slowing our breath down and regulating your breath and extending the exhale of the breath,
Exhale.
that's where the magic is in just our good health.
Mm-hmm. It's this exhaling everything that we no longer need. Yeah. So, yeah, we all breathe to survive, but what if we were breathing to thrive?
Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'll also make a mention in the notes of that about that book in case anybody wants to check that out because it's fascinating and it'll give
Mhm.
you a lot to think about and it will give you a lot to practice and apply.
That'd be great. Yeah, I was thinking about this the other night in a Kundalini class, and we're used to holding our breath at the top of the breath at the inhale, but the sensation of when you hold the breath after the exhale is such a different sensation where you've emptied, 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 and your impulse is to take that breath in, but to sit with the emptiness and to find that still point in that emptiness. Really, it brings up so much in me because I want to take that breath in, hurry, hurry for that next breath in. But being able to find the stillness when the monkey brain is saying, take that next breath, take that next breath. Um,
And
but
so
the
many ancient cultures understood the importance of the breath and understood the importance of using like mantra. A lot of mantra meditations are spoken in the cycle that they're spoken to maximize what
right.
proper amount of inhale for the proper amount of exhale and then
Mm-hmm.
pause. And the same with the rosary, the same with chanting, so many other chanting practices. It's
Mm-hmm.
fascinating how ancient those practices are and were so important to syncing to the proper breath technique. So,
Ancient medicine, Julie. Ancient medicine.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so, so much of the chanting and the mantras, it was just passed down, for hundreds and hundreds of years. There was no written prescription for this, but so ancient in the mantras and the chanting and the breathing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My friend, well, this has been really fun and filling time to spend with you. I've enjoyed it.
Oh, this has been so lovely. And I am thrilled that these poems found their way to you. And that, the heart of your door was open to receive these words and your gift of being able to pull these poems together. I'm just feeling this honey sunlight coming in through these heart doors. I'll be uh, I'll be chanting these for a while.
Thrilled to share them. So, yeah,
Yeah,
don't wait so long between sessions.
let's not.
Okay.
So lovely to connect with you.
You too. All right.
Thank you.